Hello, hello, and welcome to the Magical Witchy World TV. I am Star Ravenhawk.
And I am Rhonda Allen. Welcome back, everyone.
Yeah. And tonight we are proud to welcome Joseph Zuchowski to the Magical Witchy World TV.
Yes, here we are.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, good to have you here,
Welcome,
Joe.
Thank you. Thank
Joe.
you.
Such a
Good to
pleasure. So
have
good
you.
to have
Great
you
to
here
have
tonight.
you.
Yay.
Thank you very much. Good. It's great to be here. So, what's on your minds?
Well, we have first to introduce you to everyone, okay? So I'm
Oh,
going to
that could
go
take
through your
hours.
bio. But it could take weeks, but we'll go small
All
for
right.
now. Okay. Joseph Zuchowski
Who's he?
is a Wiccan elder with over 40 years of craft experience. As an occult consultant, he has been interviewed on radio, television, and newspaper, and has been featured in documentaries regarding paganism. While in New York, he taught the Pagan Way Grove at Enchantments, a series of open, free classes that offered people a chance to learn Wicca via direct experience. Joe began teaching the Grove in 1995, and his partner Jezebel Anat joined him in 1997. They founded the tradition of Thelemic Wicca and served as high priest and high priestess of the coven Kiklos ton Asterion. They are also members of the Ordo Templi Orientis OTO. Joseph also led workshops and facilitated rituals for the pagan networking organization New Moon New York and Pagan Pride. He is also an actor and writer for independent films and theater projects. Currently residing in Augusta, Georgia, Joseph and Jezebel lead monthly rituals at the UU Church, and Joseph reads tarot and runes at the local goth night. So,
That's
welcome,
awesome.
and thank you again for
Thank
making the
you.
time to join us. We really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah. It's so glad to have you here with us tonight.
Great
And
to
we
meet you.
have been looking forward to this conversation with you.
I miss you. Do you know that? I mean, God, it's been
Ah,
how many?
see, thank you. I miss you too. I
I
used
mean,
to
it's
go
been.
and bother Joe all the
It's
time
hard to
when
believe
it's
that
night.
I've been. It's been 17 years since Jez and I left New
Wow.
York City.
Wow.
That
Yeah.
Wow.
is
Don't
wild.
age us. Don't age us like that.
You look great,
Age
Ann.
us
Okay,
like
you
that.
guys, you look great. All right, me,
Okay.
I look like 10 miles of bad road, and I'm the first to admit it.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. So Joe, let's stay on. I'm gonna corral you
Let's
and
stay on
let's stay
topic,
on
right?
track. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we kind of asked the similar questions, but what I'm saying is when you first started out, what were you calling yourself? And then
Mhm.
the
Okay, when you say when I
arc.
first started out, you mean when I was first initiated, or when I
No, when
first
you're
got?
just interested in whatever it is that you think,
I
and
okay.
let me finish and the arc that you took in terms and maybe in terms of what you called yourself and what you call yourself now.
Well, I call myself Joe. Okay, that hasn't changed in 66 years. All right.
Okay, all
Well,
right.
Right on.
and people have called me other things. Some, if I said them, you would never be able to broadcast again. But But what I'm saying is, how if you say over the years, well, I've always identified myself as a Wiccan or a witch. But the title of high priest was bestowed on me by my first initiator and teacher. You know, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth.
Okay.
Oh
And
my God.
yes, and now if you want to hear how I got into Wicca, that's a funny story.
That will be in a second, just
Okay.
so that we understand. So as at right now, the what you call yourself is still
Oh,
Wiccan or witch. And that is what
Exactly.
you
okay.
and that's but when you stepped into it, that is what you called yourself? You were still
Brit-
consider you
We
calling yourself
well,
witch?
You see, over the years, I've learned to make a slight distinction.
Mm,
I
mhm,
call myself more a Wiccan now, and
mhm,
the
okay,
reason for it is a witch is basically a sorcerer or a sorceress, etc.
mhm,
It can be of any culture. It can be it's tied into those cultures. Whereas Wiccan and my wife and I call ourselves BTWs, which stands for British Traditional Witches. In other words,
Mhm.
we follow a Gardnerian Alexandrian format,
Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
which is the format that's used by Wiccans practically everywhere.
Right.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
All right.
now my main focus is predominantly Norse, and my wife's focus is predominantly Egyptian.
Okay.
Okay, in other words, she works more with the Egyptian pantheon. I work more with the
Mhm.
Nordic one. Yes, and
Excellent.
as right,
And there the twain shall meet.
meat
Yes.
exactly.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So now let's jump into it. What brought you into this world? What brought you into this world of the witch or Wiccan BTW?
You're gonna laugh when I tell you this, but it was a D&D game.
Seriously?
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
Oh my
Actually,
goodness.
does
I
do a
I'm
lot
not
of cosplay. He does a
Okay,
lot of
this is what
cosplay.
happened. I used to be a part of a D&D group, and one of the guys in our group, his name was Mark.
Mhm.
He said, "Hey Joe, I know you're curious about this witchcraft stuff and all that. Would you like to meet a real witch?" And I was like, "Right, sure." No, no, really. Like, Mark was as bad a joker as I am, so you know. Anyhow, long story short, his sister, her hairstylist, was a practicing Wiccan,
Fabulous.
and she would do things like read tarot cards for the customers at the salon she worked in,
Mhm.
pass the time,
Yeah.
so he introduced me to her, and we started talking, and she asked me, why do I want to do this, and I said, it just feels right.
Yes.
That was it, clean and simple. And
Wow.
she said, okay, we're going to start classes on this date. If you're still interested, this is where we meet. I said, okay.
And
And as they say, and the rest was history.
that is awesome. And so
Okay.
the 2 worlds met is basically what I'm hearing.
Right,
You had
right.
this
Yeah.
experience and then you crossed paths with just the right person at the right time. That's
Yes.
fabulous.
And
Okay.
Right
that's how
on.
it happened.
All
I
right.
mean, it was no, no deity point to say, I want you. No, it was like we were hanging out playing D&D, and it was
Right.
And just for anybody who don't know D&D's Dungeons and Dragons, just to
right.
be, just to for
And to
anybody
give
Right
you
who's
an
on.
idea how much it's changed, one time a few years ago, I went over to I was in Barnes and Noble, and I took down a copy of Dungeon Master's Guide, and I sat there and I'm reading, and I said, I can't understand a freaking word of this.
Wow.
It had changed so much,
it's
and
changed and moved on beyond us, right? Okay. All
exactly,
right. So I wanted to ask you, from your point of view, what does
yes.
it mean to be a witch or a Wiccan? You prefer Wiccan?
Okay. Well, I understand we use the term interchangeably, but like I said, I'm more specific. Whereas witches are more cultural.
Mhm.
Every culture has its witches, its practitioners of magic, root healers, people who can uncrossing and things like that. I think what it means to be a Wiccan is, number one, we are an earth-centered religion. So we are, whether we do it through actual physical activity or supporting various groups that are more nature oriented and preservation oriented. It's someone who's connected to this planet, and does their best to work with the energies around us, and that we can, and hopefully, and I'll get into that later, but hopefully we can affect a change for the better.
Mhm.
Because my wife will tell you, I'm a MSNBC addict, and I'm practically
Yep.
so, looking at the way the world is going now, I'm
Oh
like,
my
oh
gosh,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
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 And
We
I
got a lot
honestly,
of work to do. We got a lot of work on our hands, guys.
Yes.
I think right now we're in a preservation mode than we are in a progressive mode, because with the right wing the way it is, and I don't want to get political, but it's going to happen.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
so
the right wing.
we'll kind of go on from there with
I
it.
mean, I'm looking at the books that are being banned, and I'm
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting there saying, I read these books when I was in high school, and I went to a Catholic high school.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I was raised
Yeah.
as okay. I guess one of the short steps. One of the things about Wicca was that I was raised in a in a Polish Roman Catholic family. Okay, So and to make matters worse, I was an altar boy, if you could
Mhm.
believe that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. I can tell you some stories, but being an altar boy, but that's later down the post. And
Okay.
so anyway, what happened? So being around candles and incense and guys wearing robes, that was just change one group of candles and incense for another group of candles and
There you
incense.
go. There you go.
That is it's very interesting you said that. I had that conversation with somebody just a few days ago. Yes,
And they said
true.
the same
So
thing.
let me just lean on they said much the same thing. It was like, the incense, the candles, all of that. It was just
The
a
ritual, yeah.
different
Yeah, and
presentation of the same type of ritual. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So how is magic now incorporated? How is magic a part of your life right now?
My approach to magic is, I'll be 100% honest with you, because Anne will tell you I am a very
Yeah.
skeptical person, and I doubt if anybody believes it. But my approach to magic is more of a psychological way, a psychology with props. Um,
Ah.
we are what's that? We are pentafocal beings. We have our senses, we have our imagination, and all that. And to me, magic is basically a change in how you see yourself up here, and how you work with that, and how you can affect others in a way that I don't like to use the terms positive and negative, because they're so
Mhm.
blatant, they're so commonly used. I prefer to say desired or undesired.
Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. Like when they say the higher self, or I'll say the desired self, or the lower
Mm.
self becomes the undesired. But it's also, like I said, it's more of a psychological approach, because to,
Mhm.
to borrow a line from the Christian Bible, faith without works is dead.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
So I feel that it's our
True.
duty as Wiccans to be there to. It's not just for us, not just for us anymore. We're not fighting just for our existence and our right to be, but we are taking. I
Mhm.
mean, we're doing this also for the LGBTQ community. We're doing this for the any for those who are physically and mentally and emotionally challenged, or um
The disenfranchised, or the whatever
exactly,
else you
Mhm.
want to say.
exactly.
Right.
So basically, we're doing this for everybody, and
Yeah.
that's how I view the use of magic. And this right now, I mean, my grandmother, may she rest in peace, my grandmother, moja babcia,
Mhm.
she grew up in a farming village in Poland, which hadn't changed in almost 200 years.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay, she left. So what's that? She left. She has the stories about her, but she was also one of the people who introduced me. She introduced
Mm.
me to folk magic to some extent. This is one of my favorite stories, so I'm going to share it with everybody.
Yes. Yes.
When I Last night, as you know, was All Souls Night, and my
Mhm.
grandmother used to take a bowl of porridge and take it outside in the backyard and leave it out, po na dushi, for the spirits. And
Mm.
I and the bowls were always empty in the morning. Well, I one All Souls Night when I was about maybe 8 or 9 years old, I wanted to see the spirits. So after she put the
Mhm.
bowl of porridge out and went back and blessed herself and went back inside, I'm sitting here looking through the window, and I saw the spirits. I saw the spirits come to the bowl, but they were very clever. They disguised themselves as cats.
There we go. Well done.
Yeah.
Well, at least you see, it's like, kind of like the kid with the Santa Claus wanting to see Santa Claus. You can't,
Yeah.
don't unsee it. Anyway,
Right, so,
so
right, and the thing is, and you should mention Santa Claus. There was a time when I made extra money for the holidays playing Santa Claus,
Wow.
and what happened was I was a bit of a rebel there, because the saying was, well, if you're not a good boy or girl, Santa Claus is not going to bring you any presents and all that. And
Mm.
I would, and it's like and Santa, kids were terrified because Santa's watching me. I used to tell them,
Yeah.
how can I read letters? How can I work on making toys? How can I get ready and have time to watch millions of children the world over? It can't be
Yes.
Making them
done.
think about it, right? Okay. So
And
Oh,
there was also the hockey stick one, but that's another story
wait,
where I
wait, wait.
convinced.
Before you start with the hockey stick one, let me go into the next question.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I
So
convinced
tell us
quickly. I
about what.
convinced a 5-year-old girl to get a hockey stick to beat her brother up with.
Okay. All right. So tell us about what's important to you within the magical community.
I would say
yes.
community itself.
Okay. Which
Okay,
kind of,
I would say
it fits right into the next question Rhonda will be taking you
Yes.
into.
Yes. Let's talk about community. Tell us about what you'd like to, tell us about community and its importance.
it's important because as we say in the Book of Shadows, and I know this is the British one because what's that one of the I'm still on the fence concerning the so many solitary Wiccans, and it's like,
Mm,
and in the Book of Shadows it says, and ye shall not be a witch alone. Now you know where that actually comes from. The
mm,
Malleus Maleficarum, a book that was written,
mm,
Yeah.
yes,
mhm.
Yeah.
by Spengler and Kramer. Was that the manual on hunting, on how to find witches?
Right.
And
Right.
what they
Yeah.
meant back then was, if you find one, there's got to be more. No,
Right.
most witches back
Mhm.
then were solitary,
Yep. They were.
and
Mhm.
They
that's
were.
right. Well,
Mhm.
but what I'm saying, when we take it on us and you shall not be a witch alone, that means we are responsible for, I am resting on the teachings of my teacher, and I've added and I've worked with them, and we've taught others, and hopefully that's how it continues on.
Right.
All
Yeah.
right, that's how it continues on. And if we want a better world for our kids and our grandkids, be they
Mhm.
biological or spiritually adopted, I've got as sons, daughters. I'm Uncle Joe to about 30 people. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm. That's
Um,
awesome.
what
So
I'm saying is, if we want a better world for them, we have to work on it now.
yeah.
And if
Yeah.
Yes.
and the thing is, I'm like I said, I'm 66. I've got maybe 20 good years ahead of me. And if you're lucky, I'll be around for another 20 years. If you're not lucky, I'll be around for 30. But
Aw,
Okay.
it's it's
It
all
all sounds
good.
good. It all sounds good though.
Yes.
right. So what's your next
So
question?
what would you like to see us see, not, us or as witches or Wiccans, what would you like to see us accomplish?
Basically, more social acceptance, being able to have our own places of worship, and also, believe it or not, schools.
Yes.
Mhm.
That if the Catholics, the Jewish, the Muslim, every denomination under the sun can have places of education for their young and their traditions and their ways. Why can't we?
Yeah.
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 That's
Yeah.
fabulous. Absolutely
That's true.
so.
I,
That's
I
an
had
excellent
started
point.
Dragon Academy back in 2007, and at first we had young kids. Now they've all
Mm,
grown up, and we haven't had a younger group started in a long time. But we started it back then
well,
in
that's fabulous.
2007.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
That's an
saying,
excellent
and
point.
it would, and just as the earth accepts all things, that's another thing we need to. I mean,
Mhm.
I living in the South as I do, I've learned to lower my head a little bit. And when we first came here, I was much more out there, and I learned that
You need to
it,
adapt, basically.
yes, yeah,
Mhm.
and
And
I
that's
made my
From a New
mistakes.
Yorker going to
Yeah.
Georgia. That's a lot of adapting and culture shock.
That's a big
Actually,
change. Yeah.
Augusta is not that bad. Atlanta and Savannah are really the more open and liberal places. But most of Georgia is small and medium sized towns and cities.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we were in a place called Edgefield to
T
see a play, and it was a wonderful play. It was Jez and I went to see Gilligan's Island the musical, and it was excellent.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
And the people really had the characters down. But when we got to Edgefield, we're looking around, and I was expecting to see tumbleweeds rolling across the street.
Well, let me just bring you back. Let's ask the question. I know
Sure.
you were speaking about community and the idea of perhaps even having schools. Tell us about any projects you have going on or things you're thinking about launching. What projects or
Well,
things do you have coming up?
right now we was that I'm going to be doing we're going to be doing pagan pride at the nature garden. I'm sure Jez has mentioned that to you.
Awesome.
Excuse me. And
Hmm.
I basically have gotten to the point where I'm taking things more as they come.
Excellent.
Okay, I'm taking things
Mhm,
more as they
mhm.
come. Um, I take care of the house. We take, the pets and all that, and I cause
Yes.
as much mischief and trouble as I can when I can. But
Yes.
yes, I'm a real low key sort of guy.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, I was gonna ask you about
Fabulous.
any events that you're gonna do, but you already mentioned that you're gonna be doing Pagan Pride in
yes,
in
yes,
in
and we
Georgia.
and we were when Jez and I did the first pagan pride, we were told, oh, other people down here, like, you're putting your lives in your hands, and this and that. We were worried about the Christian fundies and all that.
Yeah.
And my personal view on religion, I will say this now, and in the words of Thomas Jefferson,
Mhm.
it was that it troubleth not my soul, nor breaketh my limb, nor rob my purse, if my neighbor should call on one God 20 or none.
Mm,
Okay. All right. Sounds
right
good.
on.
Yeah.
Mm.
Powerful. Listen, I can't thank you enough for making the time to
I
join us
thank you for
tonight.
Yeah.
This is
allowing me this
awesome.
opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I'm
and
so,
that's
just
something I did not realize. So you and Jazz organize and run the Pagan Pride in Georgia?
Where now we have other people working with us, but we organized the very first one.
Okay. All
oh,
right.
that is
Sounds great.
awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And what's the
Okay.
date? What is the date? And if you don't mind sharing where,
Okay,
do you
it's
have
going to
that
be at the
info?
Nature Gardens. And hey, Jez, Pagan Fest.
Pagan Fest.
What is it?
And that's
Why don't you come in here and say it? Okay,
she's
Pagan
busy.
Fest.
Okay, we'll
It's
get the
at
info
the Nature Garden. It
because
was the
guess
Pagan
who's our
Fest
guest
at the
next
Nature
week?
Garden.
Okay. All right.
And
Okay,
Sounds
hey,
good.
they're on Facebook
awesome.
too, aren't they? They can find Nature Garden on Facebook, and they'll have the date and the time and all that.
Okay. Sounds great.
Fabulous.
It's the what?
Thank you.
It's called the Back to Nature Garden Center.
Okay.
Back to
And
Thank
Nature
you.
Garden Center.
all
All
right.
right.
Fabulous.
So thank you again, Jazz,
Thank
Thank you again. I hope
so
I
much for coming to the show tonight. We appreciate your time and everything else that you came and joined.
yes.
I'm glad to have been of service. Thank you.
You're
That's just
so welcome.
warming up over there. Uh,
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, Jess. We'll see you next
okay, and
week.
she'll be here
But in
next
any
week,
case,
right?
Yes,
So,
Jazz
you
will
have
be
any
with
more
us next
questions?
week.
yes,
You have any more questions?
we
No, that's
we
it.
are
Thank you.
done.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
All
Thank
very
you
right.
so
much.
Have a
much.
wonderful night and thank you
Hold
so
on.
much.
Peace, live long and
And
prosper. Yes,
here,
I am a trekker.
yes, we are going
Actually,
to have a quick word from our
I identify more
sponsors.
as a Klingon, but that's
Hey,
yeah.
you're
But
still welcome.
thank you. Okay, so
All
any
right.
Thank
more
you.
questions? Are we good?
Be good.
We're
Thank
All
good.
right.
you.
Thank you very much.
Have a great
Okay.
night.
Back in the waiting room. I take it.
Yes.
All right. Tonight we are doing the last sign that we are finally getting to. It is Pisces.
Yes.
And that's for those who are born
Yes.
February 19th to March 20th. Okay. So in the decans, the first one we're going to be working with is decan 1. And that's those that are born February 19th to the 29th. Okay? And that's decan 1, Pisces. So Pisces decan 1 are ruled by Saturn, Jupiter, and now Neptune, which is a Pisces triplicity. The sun glides like a gondola through this decan from 0 to 9 degrees Pisces. This decan is what you will call and deem the typical Pisces. It's easy to get very enchanted by this otherworldly zone of Aquarius. Pegasus, the swan, the southern fish, and the sculptor. It is the home of dreamy, Fomalhaut, the rose colored twinkle in the eye star of the southern fish. It is also a very psychic area of the cosmos with 6 prophetic stars residing here. Being also ruled by Neptune, the planet of illusions and dreams, this decan 1 tend to be dreamy, romantic, gentle, sensitive, and kind, courteous, creative, imaginative, devoted, and friendly. Basically, all the aspects of the typical Pisces that resides here in this decan. Pisces Decan 1 focuses on the hypothetical aspects of life. They romanticize people, places, and experiences. They tend to do well in careers that are creative or spiritual in nature, have no problem taking their egos out of a situation and living in the moment. This zone of decans are more of the bohemian type artist dream, where their muses help write inspiring music, art, and poetry. They blend into the landscape and absorb the flow of inspiration from the collective. They are amazing empaths, and that is true. I have met many Pisceans, and they tend to be extremely, extremely psychic, but prone to self medication when they take on too much of other people's woes and pains, which causes them to anesthetize themselves, sometimes with alcohol or drugs. Very often, Pisces Decan 1 thinks the mirages in their life actually are real. They seem very chaste, but that doesn't stop them from being the world's worst flirts. They turn unrequited love into an art form, teasing you until you are half insane and then disappear, leaving just a puff of fairy dust. This dust will stay in your clothes and seep into everything you own, leaving quite an impression, even if it's just a stubborn red wine stain on your carpets. Pisces Decan 1 has the voice of a siren and is an ace seducer. They can charm you into doing anything for them, which is why they don't often need regular jobs. These poets always find a willing benefactor with a spear sulfur. Since their musical and artistic talents can be so seductive, their partners or friends gush how they just need someone to give them a break. So it would be a real waste to have them stacking shelves in a supermarket. Once these artists put their notes on paper, they can do very well commercially. So Pisces Decan ones will need an agent, benefactor, or partner with business savvy and common sense to make executive decisions for them. Very often, these subjects get so enraptured with the creative process that they can float cluelessly into the teeth of a great white. Pisces Decan 1 have faith that everything is good in the world, but often feel incredibly hurt and let down when they find out not everyone is Snow White. They do have a tendency to focus on the rat race of the business world, or rather, they do not focus on the rat race of the business world, rejecting material gain. Karmically, this decan signifies turning your back on old behavior patterns where you have stayed too long in a situation or relationship that was unfulfilling. In this lifetime is like a wake up call for them, where you may have one very draining partner with whom you suffered so much that you decided once and for all, never again. You can see the very light and the very dark sides of Amalhot coming through as their creative solar flare throws a very long black shadow. With Saturn and Jupiter both ruling this decan as well, it symbolizes the eternal battle between God and the devil. Those who succeed in slaying the demons lurking inside their misty labyrinth can do very well. Sometimes they make a career out of their demon slaying. This decan is also very heavily involved with the occult, but this doesn't always mean that these folk dabble in mysticism. They interesting. Sometimes just like to keep themselves private, have a very rich inner world and a fascination with other dimensions. And the examples of some of these people are Galileo, Steve Jobs, Elizabeth Taylor, Alan Rickman, Rihanna, George Washington, Ted Kennedy, Johnny Cash, Kurt Cobain. Oh, he's gorgeous. I love him. George Harrison, George Harrison, Nina Simone, Drew Barrymore, Dick Emery, Ivana Trump, Ivana? Yeah, okay. Cindy Crawford, Christine Keeler, Kyle MacLachlan, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Anthony Burgess, Victor Hugo, Ray Winstone, Prince Andrew, August Renoir, and Anais Nin. All right.
Fabulous. So now let's jump to our Pisces Decan 2, those born between March 1st and the 10th. This would be the Cancer Decan. Pisces Decan 2 are ruled by Jupiter and the moon. This is a Cancer triplicity. They are the most slippery of the fishes. Now you see them, now you don't. The sun slithers through the sultry zone from 10 to 19 degrees Cancer. Though they are in Pisces, this decan leans heavily in Cancer. This area houses Aquarius's water, the male water snake, Eridanus, the river, the phoenix, the sculptor, and the west fish of Pisces. Pisces Decan 2 folks are sub-ruled by the moon, making them more emotional, unpredictable, independent, genuine, spacey, graceful, reclusive, unique, and nurturing more so than typical Pisceans. They make great caregivers and love taking every opportunity to make their loved ones feel safe and sound. They're probably the person everyone in their life turns to for a shoulder to cry on because they're such great listeners. These amphibious creatures are masters of disguise and can blend into any environment effortlessly. Pisces decantus are probably the most liquid area of Pisces. Means it also risks being the most toxic. These subjects are supremely absorbent of their environment, which can work positively or negatively depending. They would be great as spies, but the most criminal and slimy of great power into something quite nefarious. For Pisces Decan 2, the evolutionary state of the soul is paramount, as they can absorb toxins just as well as they can absorb love and bliss. Whatever the choice, they will just suck the juice out of it, so it better be good juice. They are prone to be, yeah, they are prone to be easily molded and manipulated by those closest to them. They should, therefore, try to associate with clean living and spiritual awareness. With Earth heavy in this zone, keeping with the right crowd will keep nasty scum from accumulating on this fish's tank. The symbol of Pisces is as ambiguous as its subjects, two fishes swimming in opposite direction, but tied together by a cord for all eternity. They can be the womb or the tomb as they are on threshold of resurrection. They can be victim or the savior or waver between both. At worst, they can be the martyr who sacrifices too much of themselves, causing them to become very bitter and resentful, an empty shell of who they once were. With the water snake here, the festering anger can manifest in two ways, resulting in illness, or they could inflict viperous revenge on those to whom they were once so devoted. Pisces water is essentially the mother of all life, as great fertility energies reside here. But if these folk cannot be creative, then the energy here can only implode and be very destructive. See it as one of these fishes is the great fertility goddess, the other her son. She is devouring, destructive, and lascivious. I can't say the word right. The primordial world of instinct. He is the redeemer, Ictus, the Christ. The cord which ties their tails binds them forever. They cannot escape one another. This ambivalent attitude towards the fish in ancient religious symbolism reflects this pairing, for on the one hand it is unclean and an emblem of hatred and damnation, and on the other it is an object of veneration. As the age of Piscean devotion comes to an end, the martyr is being questioned. Do we really need to self sacrifice to save others? Save others. The positive side of this deccan is their superb ability to redeem themselves and help others to do so. The deccan inwards for guidance. They can be a powerful example of salvation and give hope to those in the most circumstances. When their water is sparkly clean and vibrant, then these subjects can be the fountain of wisdom from Aquarius's urn can yield inventions and cures that have a huge on humanity. This decan is supposed to do great in the material success due to this being their due to this being the solar energy that brings out the best of the creative promise here. With Jupiter bringing growth and abundance, the moon bringing fertility and imagination, the sun then cooks both of them up into a well of creativity, making a great cocktail of the decan rulers blended with the sun. Pisces Decan 2s shows the ability to maintain a harmonious relationship between material and spiritual, suggesting that the material riches are the product of spiritual labor. The Pisatrix image for Pisces 2 shows an inverted figure, rather like the Tarot's hanged man, so that the material and spiritual priorities that have been inverted, and that the figure is grounded in the invisible rather than upon the earth. The inverted figure offers sustenance, proving that this strange act is quite fruitful. This all repeats the theme of self sacrifice and martyrdom that comes with the Jesus archetype strongly in this decan. These folk will sacrifice themselves for their art or for a good cause. But the women in particular need to make sure they don't totally devote themselves to the man or son in their life or to their partner, their other, and to also seek the many talents promised in this decan. So some examples of this decan: Osama bin Laden, Mikhail Gorbachev, Alexander Graham Bell, Yuri Gagarin, Patrick Moore, Nicolaus Copernicus, P.D. Ouspensky, Frederick Chopin, Antonio Vivaldi, Sharon Stone, Rachel Weisz, Jean Harlow, David Niven, love him, Rex Harrison, John Bon Jovi, Justin Bieber, Karen Carpenter, Andy Gibb, Bobby Womack, Kate McCann, Pierpaolo Pasolini, Tammy Faye Baker, Prince Charles, Princess Diana.
All right. And so
Yeah.
next and last, we are moving on to the Pisces Decan threes, born or those who all those who are born March 11th to the 20th. Pisces Decan 3 is ruled by Mars, Pluto, and Uranus, a Scorpio triplicity. In both systems, the sun flies through this decan from 20 to 29 degrees Scorpio. This zone is totally dominated by the visionary, high flying mythical horse Pegasus. After that, there is a lizard, a swan, and a star measurer. Though they are Pisces, the Can3s lean heavily in Scorpio. This is the zone of the impossible, for here we have aeronautical fishes. Pisces Decan3s are subruled by Pluto, making them more secretive, deep, and mysterious than their typical Pisces counterparts. They do well when they allow themselves to get comfortable with solitude. They tend to be intense, possessive, and can be obsessive if they don't keep themselves grounded. They can also be persistent, impressionable, empathic. That happens, right? Good listeners and loves
Mhm.
challenges. They are highly intuitive and can even embody more psychic traits than their other fellow Pisces decans. These folks' Piscean water is simmering, about to boil over as it makes its way to the new life born on the spring equinox at 0 degrees Aries. They are bursting with anticipation for the future and impatient because they've been cocooned for so long. Pisces Decan 3s can make calamitous mistakes by overreaching themselves.
Mhm.
These folks need to remember that half baked ideas do not go so well and must learn to wait until their plans are fully developed. The latter end of this decan, especially those under aromatic 29 degrees, are naturally daredevils and tend to aim high in all things. They are prone to accidents due to their impulsive natures, but very gung ho, so will be back in the saddle as soon as they can. They have the
Mhm.
ability, sorry, so thirsty. They have the
Mhm.
ability to, where was I? Yes, to put a positive spin on things, which can come in useful working in glamour industries such as fashion, film, and advertising. Pisces Decan 3 like to preen themselves and keep up appearances if they aren't making things beautiful in art or design. However, much as these natives have a great sense of the aesthetic, they pride themselves on being primarily intellectuals. In fact, their busy minds might be the reason they are so accident prone. Practical things like simply walking in a straight line might be a problem for them. These Pisces decantries are naturally hotheads, so watch out for that. They retain some of the wonderful Piscean imagination, mysticism, musical talent, and psychic abilities, but they are more likely to put these talents to use because of their great desire to see their name in starry lights, as they are very enamored by stardom. They are ambitious visionaries and will not stop until they see their dreams materialize. The biggest problems with these natives is overreaching themselves and the danger of burning themselves out. Pisces decantries are naturally fascinated by the cosmos, metaphysics, and what makes the universe tick, secretly hoping for a prince or princess to whisk them away from their drudgery to the throne that they deserve. Rightly so. Pisces decantries' colorful imagination sees the fairy tale in everyday life, even if things are quite bleak. These natives are always craning their neck above the prison bars of reality, smiling at their rainbow future that will surely come. Yes, it's totally real to them, and some with very strong powers of visualization can indeed make it happen somehow, somewhere. This tendency to live in a naive bubble can even protect them from the bruises of modern life. Pisces decantry can go through great trauma, but still be reassured that, like the lizard that resides here, they are magically regenerative. Their limbs and anything else when needed, as they tend to bounce back pretty quickly. These folks are the legendary comeback kings and queens of the zodiac. Thankfully, some of the stars in Pegasus give honor, riches, and fortune to them, so they can easily pay the bill for repairing any mangled fetlocks as a result of their daredevil activities. The sun is on a roller coaster in this decan since it is waving goodbye to the last solar year and about to leap into the springtime with renewed vigor. Northern or southern hemisphere, or up or down, it doesn't really matter. The point is, this decan is on the tipping point one way or another. It is very appropriate that the discovery of Uranus being one of the rulers in this decan, since the planet marks the threshold to the world of the non visible planets. From Uranus onwards, decan threes deal with alien matter and dimensions. They cannot see, we cannot see, as they are fascinated with mystery and what lurks beyond the physical. They feel like they must boldly go forth, like in Star Trek. This is quite an otherworldly placement for those who have to live in a material existence, so they may find it hard not to escape into sci fi and hyper dimensional realities. There are sharp contrasts in the behavior of these individuals, too, for like the roller coaster, they plunge into misery one day, but are upbeat and ecstatic the next. The fixed stars warn of the negatives from these folks' rash and impulsive natures. However, if Pisces decantry learns patience and works on bridling their wayward passions, they can avoid the dire warnings of any really serious accidents. So they're really lucky, I would say. All
Mm-hmm.
right, so
Yeah.
here are some examples of these wonderful people. Let's see: Michelangelo, Albert Einstein, L. Ron Hubbard, J.Z. Knight, Manly Palmer Hall, Wyatt Earp, Pat Nixon, Rupert Murdoch, Joseph Mengele, Adolf Eichmann, Michael Caine, Eva Longoria, Patrick Duffy, Bruce Willis, Ursula Andress, Holly Hunter, Glenn Close, Kurt Russell, Jerry Lewis, Irene Cara, Liza Minnelli, Quincy Jones, Nat King Cole, Spike Lee, Discovery of Uranus, Invention of the Telephone, Prince Edward of Wessex, Charles and Camilla, O'Neill and Farrah Fawcett, and Depp and Heard. All right. So if you want to
Wow.
go more and get in depth about the decans, again, don't forget to check out darkstarastrology.com for further insights. All right.
Right
Yeah.
on. Time for some
Yay.
cards.
All right. So we are going to do a pulling of the card again. And tonight we're going to be pulling on the card about your personal decan for Pisces. So let's see what it has to say. And don't
Yes.
forget, there's a lot, whether in either of the three decans, there's a lot of psychic abilities there.
Oh my gosh.
What you
It's one
got?
of those signs.
Oh dear, look at that. What have
So,
you got?
oh, you've already pulled your card.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I am
I
still
thought you
pulling
said,
my
oh
card.
Lord, meaning you got yours.
I was, I was like, wait, wait, let's see. Let me just pull my card really quickly. Well, I'm working with Modern Witch Tarot again,
Mm.
this deck, and the card that I have is the Two of Swords. The Two of Swords. This is the deck by Lisa Sturl, Modern Witch.
All right.
And how this works with what we're talking about is that it's that notion that we were just speaking about with the martyr or they seem to be on two sides. They're either one way or the other. It's left or right, up or down, in or out. It's not, it's this binary energy, which is very evident here. But it's also the psychic part of them, the empathic part of them, which we also see in the Two of Swords with all that water in the background. The fact that, this figure is blindfolded, leading them to do what? Go inward, use their inner sight to help them with whatever decisions they have to be making here. So this card, when I look at this, I'm like, wow, this really is. And then of course it's a two. The twos in the minor arcana are all associated with the major arcana number two, the high priestess. So here we are deep into the world of psychic ability, intuitiveness, and that emotion, that water, that back and forth, that up and down, left and right. I just see this as being very emblematic of that Piscean energy.
All right. And look at this card. Would you believe it?
Oh,
I
wow.
mean,
You have the
this
star
this it
card.
has, but
Mm.
it's the star card. But I love this deck, the symbolism and everything else that comes with it. It's so apropos. This is so
Mhm.
Piscean, but also if you notice the stars and everything else on the top of it,
Yes.
that whole thing about their sci-fi, their otherworldly, their dimensional, they're stuck in the stars. And to me, it kind of speaks a lot to the Decan threes about how they are Piscean, but yet still they're aeronautic type, more in the air with it. Um, how they even more psychically involved. But at the same time, if you look at her, both her hands are pouring water into, it seems like either a river or part of a lake, and which does not make
Yes.
any sense when you look at it. But at the same time, doesn't the Pisces fish in a circle bites, holds one tail and is joined at the other end, and they keep going around in a circle? So it's as if it's coming from her at the same time, all the water and everything back into the river, and yet
Yes.
it's coming back to her with one arm and coming out the other arm. Like, it's so interesting. And all of the, and at the same time being that fixed sign of Decan 2, of where it's on the earth, it's still balanced on the earth, but yet still is replenishing the waters of the world.
Right.
uh, and what
You
it
know,
does, and that whole water and everything behind it, it's so, I mean, it says the stars, but it's combining so many things all at once, that it's such an appropriate card that combines all of this decan, Pisces decan, and all of what they contain and what they represent, all three decans of this. I think this is one of the most appropriate cards of all the signs that we've done so far, I think.
wow. I look at the two of these two together. You have the stars in your card. I have the moon, crescent moon in this one. There's the water in the background in both. There's this one singular figure in both that is really, I mean, I look at the things that are common in both
Right.
the
Yeah.
star card and this Two of Swords card, which clearly leans to me to this notion of this emotion, the empathetic um, figure that is able to feel but sense, and then there's also this wide range of emotion. That's fabulous. I
Yeah.
am not surprised with
Yeah.
those two
Great,
cards as they
great,
came up
great
tonight.
cards for
Not at all.
Pisces decans of all three decans.
Yes.
And it says so much about them in general. But they do tend to
Mhm.
take on a lot of the world, and you got to learn to release. I think a lot of them need to live near water for them to be able to replenish and uh, just stay grounded in a sense. Live near the water, but
Mhm.
still fixed under earth. But at the same time,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
will keep them replenished and rejuvenated or renewed, kind of a thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Water as healer.
Yes.
What do
Yes.
they call them?
Yes.
Healing waters. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, excellent. Well, that has brought us to
Yeah.
the end of yet another week.
Yes. And who do we
And
have coming up next on Friday, November
who do
10th?
we have coming
We will
up?
have
We
our next
have,
guest is Jezebel Annette, and we can't wait to have her join us
yeah,
then. So that'll be great. And
cannot wait.
yeah, and we want to thank again Joseph Zuchowski for joining us tonight. And I
Yes.
think we kind of moving on to next week, right? Okay. We thank
Yes, we
again
are. So,
everyone for being with us
thank you.
tonight, whether you're in the chat or wherever you are. And I do hope you enjoyed the every part of the show. And again, keep in touch with us. Let us know what you're feeling and who else we can bring on the show. We would be glad
Mhm.
to see who we can get here. And what else, Rhonda?
Yes, we would like to say please do like, follow, and share. We appreciate it. Whether you're watching us live, watching us on a playback, we definitely appreciate it. So
And
thank you all
subscribe
yet
and
again. Thank you
subscribe
to Joe
as well.
and
Yes.
subscribe. Absolutely.
Okay. Have a
Absolutely. And thank you
wonderful night.
again to our guest
Oh, and
Joe this week.
blessed Samhain to all of you. We didn't get a chance to say that. Blessed Samhain, happy Halloween, whatever else you celebrate. And
Yes.
see you guys next Friday at 10 p.m. with Jezebel and Nat.
We'll see you next week. Have a great week, everyone.